killing me. I'm trying to ball, but the alcohol making me ill. Paranoid like it's me against the world. Will I live or die? My only question when I ride.
Listen, a Tupac song with an Isley Brothers sample. I'm in. I'm locked in. All the way down. You are checking out hour 3 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. I hope you're locked in. I hope you're comfortable. The final hour, the after hours, this is where we get a little looser. We let our hair down a little bit more. I don't know what that really means. It just sounds cool because it's late. But you are locked in. We have my guest still, Mr. Damon Haley, who is an entrepreneur, author, Los Angeles native. His Glow and Flow Beauty. He and his wife. Glow and Flow Beauty. It's a beauty retail experience. It's right here in Inglewood. Second location opening up soon to be franchising across the country, which is really special. I want to know from you, before we get into some of these other stories, as a black businessman in Los Angeles, right? What has your personal experience been like? Do you think that Los Angeles is set up as a city that is helping black entrepreneurs to win?
I'm not to straddle. It's not a definitive no, and it's not a definitive yes. I think particularly after the George Floyd scenario, there was a lot of dollars that was flowing, grant monies and all that kind of stuff. And it was cool then, I do think that from my experience, there's a lot of inspiration. There's a lot of education. There's still this idea of where's the money, where's the capital that we need to really make some things happen.
We don't need any more mentors.
Yeah, because there's tons of cohorts and all these types of things. And I'm invited to be on a lot of the stuff, and I did particularly last year. But I realized I'm a different person. So Diane and I both have a combined 50 years of business experience. We don't need a lot of what's being taught out there. We don't need to be inspired. What I need
capital.
I need money, and I have been able to demonstrate to folks that I know what to do with money. And so that's where the real problem is. How do you help people go to the next level? Not just get started, but how do you help people go to the next level? So from that capacity, I think that LA is failing black businesses, because if we can't get there, we can't show the way, we can't create the path, and we can't be elevated. Like, you tell me, who's the top 3 business people in LA?
No clue.
No clue. No clue of all the businesses out there. It's no clue who that is, because those stories aren't being told. We tend to want to make money in silence. We don't want to ruffle any feathers or anything like that, and
stay under the radar so that we're not a target.
Right. And I think there's something to that, and then there isn't something to it. I was talking to someone about Robert F. Smith. He's either number 1 or number 2. It's Dave Stewart or Robert Smith. He just now currently is marketing himself. After the Morehouse, the Scott, because that made such a ripple. I hear and I believe it to be true. He's purposefully creating online, the LinkedIn and IG and all that kind of stuff.
I would absolutely think so. He, the Earn Your Leisure guys, I'm not sure if you're familiar. Mm-hmm. He's very connected with them. Interviewed with them, I believe, more than once, is doing their Invest Fest, which is coming up. And I felt like that was a purposeful move. Again, I don't know him in any capacity, but to your point, when the information came out about Morehouse, I think he didn't know how to market himself. He didn't know how to present himself and to be relatable. And just so happened that this financial literacy boom has started coming up at the same time, and that's obviously an organic piece where he can connect with that. And
he's being coached up on that. I'm pretty confident, based on the individual that I talked to, that he's being coached up, and he's open to the coaching. Him and another cat, Don Peebles, who's a big real estate dude. So it is an influx. And I love what the Earn Your Leisure people doing. I'm not unfortunately I can't attend Invest Fest out there. But it's funny, I was reading on it today, and he said all the money's coming to Atlanta, and all they mentioned was entertainers. And so once again, I don't really need to be around entertainers to be inspired and all that. I need to be around where the bank's at.
So I think that you raise an interesting point with that, because Robert Smith, obviously Don Peoples, these are people in business, but more people think that they could have a greater opportunity to be an entertainer than they do to be someone in business and to connect to that. How do you make the concept of being a business, like, not, because I think right now in the culture, business, like I mentioned earlier, is something that is very much a topic. And, we see a lot of, especially among women, not flighty businesses, but, online businesses, very much, oh, I have an online store, I have a lash line, just 1, 2, 3, the same kind of 4 business opportunities that they've seen other people do. But how do you make other aspects of that look appealing? Because it should just be, hey, you can make a lot of money at this, and that should be a win, but it's not. So how do you think that you can make these other areas more appealing so that our youth get just as excited about coming to something, well, maybe not just, but excited about coming to something where they can hear from business owners, people that made a way, that were, perhaps in their position, as they do coming to see Ari Fletcher and, Lil Baby.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think it's an opportunity to produce an array of opportunities, meaning some people are going to get stuck on the entertainment thing, and some people are going to want to get stuck on the sports thing. Those are shiny, flashy, all of that. But waste management, there's a lot of money in that, and I think that it's finding those people and exposing, that other stuff to people. Like, oddly enough, I've been around a lot of this stuff, but that's not really me. I like the stuff that provides people an opportunity to come together and have fun. That's kind of what gets me going. And I think Diane loves love, and Diane loves design and all that kind of stuff. We don't star chase as a family, her and I, me individually, her, we don't do that. And I think that that's what a lot of us do. And I listen to people all the time, women in particular, that are doing nails, lashes, and liquids, and I think it's low-hanging fruit. And they do see that they can do it, and sometimes that's the capability that they have. I think that there's people that have greater aspirations that need to be touched, not just to go to college to do whatever and go get a job, but really to go to college, learn, and fortify your community or start a business. That's where we really need to start.
Do you think college is still necessary, even just from a networking perspective?
I think it's necessary for some because, we're still talking about 20-year-olds needing a safe space to go. Like I have a niece, she's at UCLA. I always tell my brother, she cool until 2025. Because UCLA gonna provide a cool little spot. It ain't LA. She cool to. You got to worry about 2025 when she's done. But I know you need to figure out a learning pattern. If it's some trade, if it's coding or whatever, you have to figure that out. And I don't know if someone here in the United States at age 18 has enough to figure it out if they ain't been trying since they 12 years old. You have to go somewhere where you can figure out how to learn something else. They need to be college, because oddly enough, I was accepted at Berkeley, but still wanted to go to ITT Technical Institute because I didn't know no better, to be honest, when I was 18. I'm like, well, what's the difference? Electrical engineering is the same, ain't it? I didn't know,
The doors that
right.
the university could open up just based off of people seeing that.
And lucky there was a black dude at ITT in Buena Park that ran me out of his office. He said, "You got accepted to, man, get the hell out of here," And my dad didn't know either, but he was taking me wherever I wanted to go. So I think that it's exposure. To answer your question, we need exposure to more than just Jay-Z being a billionaire. and Beyonce being a great entertainment talent. We need more than that. Like a lot of, like for me in the 90s, I knew about Reginald Lewis and Leverage Buyout. That was my guy. Well, why should white guys have all the fun?
Yep.
That was my thing in the early 90s, 30 years ago, and we're not hearing that kind of stuff.
He had that brown suit on the cover.
Yeah, with the cigar.
Yep.
And I went, and Peoples I learned more about. I knew who he was, but I was in Columbus, and I went to a dude's house. I actually used to work with LeBron. And I was like, man, I'm just checking out your library. And he said, oh, I got a book for you, D. Here. And he gave me Don Peoples' book. And I read it on the way back from Columbus to LAX. And I'm like, okay, impressive dude. Stories like that of just a normal cat, because that's how most of us are. We in the middle. You're going to have extraordinary people that ain't worth nothing, and then everybody in the middle. And most of us are in the middle, but people in the middle living great lives.
That's true. Do you find that since you've written your book and when you have conversations with youth, how do they respond? Because obviously there's an easy way to get them. You can throw out, again, some names that for most is going to draw you in and want to know more. But what are those conversations like that you're having as a business owner?
I think, just yesterday I was in Whole Foods, and a dude comes to me and says, hey, you Damon Haley? Yep. I read your book, and he works at Target. And he said he got a book club. After he read it, he created a book club. And I'm like, here, man, call me. And then I recognized who he was. He was actually the first person to read my book. I didn't know. And I reached out to him because I thought he read it pretty fast, but he had gotten the book. He got my book before I got my book from the publisher at some book fair or whatever. But most people are inspired by it. And I've had people in Brazil, China, Singapore, Nigeria, and Sierra Leone read the book. And people come, it's funny, outside of the country, race isn't a big thing when they talk about it, me being a black dude or whatever. It's just about triumph. It's about pivoting. It's about pushing forward. I think people in the United States, particularly women who read it, talk about fighting through the isms, which is a term I use. So I think it's inspirational, as well as the 30 tips that I give about how to navigate through some of the scenarios. And I always say, be better than me. This is an opportunity for you to be better than me, because now when I was going through that time and space, you have better tools to handle the time and space than I had, So I think those are the big things. But young people are hyped on it. I mean, young people are some kid that's going to Hampton hit me last week. He got the book in March. I went and spoke to some seniors in March, and he hit me maybe about 8 days ago, like 8 to 10 days ago, and was like, I read your book, I'm ready. And I was like, all right then, player, get it going. He just emailed me from my website.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's hyped. I was hyped.
From your
off
website,
that.
DamonHaley.com?
DamonHaley.com.
DamonHaley.com. The book is The Book of Dreams and Hopes, the book of DH.
Yeah.
You can get it on DamonHaley.com.
DamonHaley.com, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. I got Audible. If you got Audible, it's on Audible. The Audible version, I think, is actually better.
Okay.
Because it's different than the written thing, because when I was recording it, I felt different reading it.
Okay.
And then I'd be like, I don't even want to say that. I want to say this.
So you interjected some different parts
I'd
of the
be like,
conversation.
oh, that was some bull, stuff. I go off, sometimes and give you a little bit added bonus. And it's 7 or 8 different voices on my book too.
Okay.
And it's scored like a movie. So the Audible version.
Oh, so you give you a whole experience, because as we've discussed, giving people an experience is what it's all about. I mean, you even think about now, wealthy people are spending less on luxury items and more on experiences. So more luxury vacations, more beyond $6,000 Beyonce concert tickets and whatever else, because they want an experience now more than just things. When we come forward, we'll have more with Damon Haley. We're also going to get into that Sierra clip, as well as talk about Run DMC's final performance and Hip Hop 50. Wrap that conversation up. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As black folk, we know how to face tragedy and not fall into despair. And yet sometimes the points of pain are felt so acutely, especially when we know full well that we're being treated unfairly by our so-called justice system that at times appears to be anything but just. After more than 30 years of public service, Mark Willie Thomas is set to be sentenced on Monday, August 21st, for his conviction on bribery and conspiracy in a federal corruption trial. As you well know, Willie Thomas was found not guilty on 12 of the 19 counts the feds brought against him. This is not your typical corruption case. No lavish trips, no victim, no cash in a brown bag or stashed away in a freezer, no illegal contributions from a wealthy donor, no money received by the accused, no use of taxpayer dollars. There is therefore no need to incarcerate Ridley Thomas to protect the community. Indeed, the probation department has recommended a mere 18-month sentence. But the feds, they want MRT to serve 6 years. 6 years. How is that fair? This happens far too often to defendants who just happen to look a lot like you and me. First, they target you. Then they overcharge you. Then they fight to keep certain folk off the jury. Then they spend millions of your tax dollars prosecuting a victimless $100,000 criminal allegation. Then, typically, they win, and why shouldn't they? In reality, no case of the United States government against you is really a fair trial, if you feel me. Then, after they win, they ask for a sentence of more than 3 times what the probation department is recommending. Again, I ask, how is that fair? I read the federal government's summary document regarding the sentencing of MRT, and the charged language they use is both revealing and despicable. You can clearly see their disdain for the constituent community, for the black clergy who have stood with MRT, and mostly for MRT, daring to exercise his constitutional right to even go to trial to defend himself. The feds demanding a 6-year sentence in this case is their way of punishing an uppity Negro who dared to fight back. Let's hope that the judge in this case sees through this racist masquerade and delivers a sentence of time commensurate with the crime, even as MRT appeals this verdict. There are no good times to be black in America, and sometimes are worse than others. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your comments.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. I am still having a fascinating conversation with my guest, Mr. Damon Haley. Before we continue, I want to shout out Fannie, and I just dropped her last name. Fannie, the Georgia prosecutor. You know, she dropped bombs. Trump was indicted today. There are 19 indictments total. She has indicated that she wants to prosecute them all at once. We know what she has been doing, what she has been laying out the foundation for. So just have to give love her way and shout her out. And we hope that you take this one far, as far as you can. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Fannie Willis. Okay, there it is, where it is. I was like, Williams Willis. Shout out to Fannie Willis. Big up to her.
About Fannie Willis?
You know, big up to the black woman down there in Georgia holding it down, doing her thing. And hopefully she'll be the one to put that final nail in Donald Trump's coffin. But we'll have to see. I mentioned Sierra before we came forward, and Sierra hears all of your commentary regarding her marriage, her children, Russ, what happened with Future. In a recent interview, she was asked to share her thoughts on all the chatter and how she sort of deals with it and what her thoughts are about Black Twitter. So let's tap in.
The one thing I wanted to ask you, because I always think about this from the other side, is that like Black Twitter, okay, that's what we call it, Black Twitter. And I feel like whether they're discussing Future or your amazing relationship with Russell, or they throw the kids in it, anytime any of you do something, it's a 3-day debate. Everybody's got think pieces going. Do you read any of that stuff? Do y'all laugh about it? Do y'all like, did you see what these people talking about today?
Well, remember I said Sierra, she keeps it cute, and up there, Cece, sometimes she want to, say a couple of things. I think what we always say in life is, keep the main thing the main thing. So for me, that's always my philosophy. I'm always focused on joy. It is a little bit of that unbothered energy. So yeah, that's how I kind of look at like life. I want to live my life full of joy and happiness.
So shout out to Sierra. She's basically saying, I don't hear y'all, I don't see y'all. Keep it moving. So keep it cute with those conversations. But I do think that she raised an interesting point about Sierra and Cece. Is there still a need for us to code switch in this era in 2023 when we talk about keeping it real and our decorum? And I don't know if that, what she specifically is talking about is necessarily code switching. I know that there are different behaviors necessary for different environments, but do you think that as far as success is concerned, especially now, there's still a need to kind of have one side of you that you reveal maybe in business or with certain business associates, and then keep another side that is completely reserved for home, family, friends, private life, etc.?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, hey, every time you said my name, what did I say? DH, baby. That is a part of my personality that I get power from. When I did have a job, and it's funny, my job name was Dalton.
Dalton?
Yeah. So I would go into Dalton.
Okay, Dalton Books.
No, just Dalton.
Dalton.
Because I thought it was Dalton with a U.
Okay.
Was an interesting way that I had to act in that space in order to advance, fit in, and all that other stuff.
Okay.
Because Damon might not have, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's certain lengths that you can go when you talk in an environment that you're there to work, so you can't talk about race, politics, religion, and things like that, because being a black person, it's just not where you're going to get a raise, promotion, or bonus if you oppose the general flow. I think with Sierra, though, it's about maturity, and it's funny. My brother-in-law was with a friend of mine, and my childhood friend, and he said, Damon, I never heard nobody call you Day-Day. And I said, it's only about 4 people on the planet that would. I was the original Day-Day before Friday came out. But that's who I was back in the day. And then I was D. Frat days, I was Sweet Delight. And that's right. That's what they called me.
Shout out, you're an Omega. Yes.
No, I'm a Sigma.
Oh, you're a Sigma. Okay.
Phi Beta, no greater.
Okay.
So I think that what she was probably saying, Cece, might have been a 19 or 20-year-old Sierra, right? And so now she's a woman. She's a mother of 4. Well, she's pregnant now.
Yeah.
So 4. So, okay, she going to want to do like Russ now. A dude that's sweet, considerate, all that kind of stuff. But Cece back in the day might have wanted a bad boy.
Well, she did. 50.
Yeah, because I mean,
Bow Wow.
Hey,
Future.
hey, I need a soldier. I need a roughneck. All that kind of stuff.
Shout out to those days.
Yeah, but that's what those women kind of wanted then, because that was hot and all of that. So I think that
it's fun.
I think that, yeah, I mean, but you flow out of that. So
Absolutely.
I do think that, yeah, if you are a person, you might need to do some code switching to fit in or whatever. And I do the same thing. I mean, I'm in beauty. So it's funny, I was in a meeting and we closed the deal, But I did more. Afterwards, the woman on my side of the table who was on my team said, "Dang, Damon, you did more talking in our prep meeting." Because I realized I'm the only dude, and we talking about hair, and I ain't got no hair.
So you can't carry the conversation.
It's only so much because my hair never itched because we got that Slatus anti-itch, right? I don't know about lightweight, silky, soft, all of that, but I can talk about inventory and assortments and all of that kind of stuff. I kind of stayed in my lane. So I think that we all get into who do I have to be in this space to be the most productive and effective. Now, me personally, like you said, sometimes I'm Mr. Valentine. I'm a different person as Mr. Valentine because we're around a lot of people that I'm a character. So I do characterize myself at different things, but mostly, and I ain't saying I'm fake. I might say less.
Right.
But, you do some tricky stuff, I'm going to let you know. You do something I don't like, I'm going to let you know. I had to take somebody outside, and say, "Hey, stop saying that because that's wrong." And then we went back inside. So, and it was like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know, I'm not upset. I'm just telling you what you're saying is wrong." It was about how royalties work on a shoe deal.
Okay.
And he didn't realize I know how royalties work on a shoe deal. So I was like, "Hey, man, what you're saying is wrong in this environment. Don't back up that statement. Now let's go back in here and get this money."
Right.
In the right way. So I think that, code switching is going to be something we all do because work ain't home. It just ain't. And then I think that the CCs and the Day-Days and all of that will have their youthfulness, but when we become grown people, we go and we morph into something different. When I do presentations, I always show a collage of who I am. Everywhere from 5 years, from kindergarten picture to something I did last year. And at some point I realized I'm not even those people anymore. I'm in a different time. I'm in a different place. My skin ain't the same. My hair is different. It ain't even nothing more about the memory of who that person is. So it's about who I am now and what's important to me right now.
When we come forward, we will have more with Damon Haley. We're, of course, going to get into Run DMC, the legends that they are. And we're going to have a question for Damon about product. And is product simply product, no matter what it is? All that and more. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Mama, don't cry. Worry me.
Something about this game that keep a shorty holler for pain. But when they jump from the front, I'ma do my thing. I got problems, so I looked up when they killed my parents, couldn't solve them. So I took the hit for granted and the revolver would be my only hope for escape. Talking about going insane, but the feeling can't wait. Who can you blame on these inner city streets? They screaming out peace, but everybody is deceased. Just pray me a cheat, just pray that I make top grade. In the straight, getting paid is the way I play. Critiques, so I be freaks all week, I be holding mine down from sundown all through the sunshine. And getting blasted, massive, thinking lavish thoughts of unaccountable cabins. See, I can barely fly, feeling my high. When I go now, don't cry, cause we all gotta meet up in the sky.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Multiple reports say 10 indictments have been returned by the grand jury in Georgia's election interference case against former President Donald Trump. It's not yet known if Trump himself was indicted because the case reportedly involves several defendants. We may later learn details on the charges. Trump is accused of breaking state election laws in the weeks after Election Day in an effort to remain in power. The charges center around actions that include allegedly making false claims of ballot fraud and pressuring local officials to find him more votes to overturn the election. Black Democratic Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis has been investigating Trump and his allies for more than 2 years. Trump has denied any wrongdoing. And that's the latest. I'm Esther Dillard from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
When your ride fires on all cylinders, so do you. That's why Napa is on a mission to keep you in motion. With nearly 6,000 Napa Auto Parts stores and over 17,000 Napa Auto Care centers, the Napa Network has everything you need to get up and go.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Attention taxpayers, ready for some bad news? With $80 billion in new funding from Congress, the IRS has launched their most aggressive hiring campaign ever to ramp up enforcement. If you're ignoring your taxes, don't delay another minute, because your paycheck, your bank account, even your home or business could already be at risk. Now, here's the good news. Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm, can get to work immediately helping to protect you from the IRS. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals are experts at resolving tax problems. Let them help determine if you qualify for the Fresh Start Initiative or other powerful IRS tax assistance programs. Take control. Call Optima Tax Relief now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Piper, pick peppers, but run rock, rhyme, Humpty, Dumpty, fell down. That's his heart. Time, Jack nimble, what? Nimble, and he was quick, but jam, Max Mud, Faster Jacks on J. Now little Bo Peep, Cole lost her sheep, and Rip Van Winkle fell asleep. And out of chilling summer in Wonderland, Jack serving Jill bucket in his hand. And damn, at the stage, making that ass sound.
The turntables might wobble, but they don't fall down. You are locked in, Hour 3, RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. That Run DMC intro was not random. It was on purpose because we know that we just celebrated the 50th anniversary of the start of hip-hop. We know it started with a block party back in the day in New York, back to school party, 2 turntables and a mic eventually. You know, the 5 elements of hip-hop: breaking, DJing, graffiti, MCing. I probably left something out that I can't think of. I'll run it back though, but if you know, feel free to chime in. But anyway, the first superstars in hip hop were Run DMC. Now we know that they were a group of first. They're the first rappers to have a gold album, Run DMC, 1984. The first rap act to appear on MTV, right? We saw the extension of that when they paired up with Aerosmith for Walk This Way, a rendition of that hit, and made it a whole new thing in 1986 that was a phenomenon. Obviously, we know what they did with Adidas, how they made them famous. Wasn't even a branding type situation at that time. They were just showing love to the gear that they rocked day in, day out, and they became the first rappers with an endorsement deal, right? They also were the first rap act to appear on Saturday Night Live, the first rap act to grace the cover of Rolling Stone, the first to win a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. By their third album, Raising Hell, released in 1986, they would be the first rap act and album to achieve platinum status. You got to think of their King of Rock video, which was controversial at the time. They stepped on Michael Jackson's sequined glove. They smashed Elton John's glasses. They were talking mess basically to Buddy Holly, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Little Richard. These are, you know, rock and roll icons, and came out the gate with a lot of bravado, a lot of style, and a lot of attitude, right? So over the weekend at the massive Hip Hop 50 Live celebration that was in New York, it had Nas was there. You know, he brought out Lauryn Hill. Think Dougie Fresh and Snoop Dogg performed La-Di Da-Di together because, you know, Snoop was the first person to remake a rap song. He remade La-Di Da-Di on his early album, and that was kind of controversial. But back to Run DMC. They obviously established Def Jam. They dropped in 1983 with their single It's Like That. And we know they tragically lost Jam Master Jay, their DJ, in 2002 on Halloween to a shooting. But they have endured. Rev Run later became a reality TV star. We saw him in the bathtub with his BlackBerry phone. It became synonymous with a lot of things. They were in the first really hip-hop based movie, Crush Groove, one of my personal favorites. We won't talk about everybody's acting, but it was a great movie. It worked for me. Do you know what I mean? That was like the bit of hip-hop that you could get in 1985. You didn't even know where all the flavor and culture was coming from. You just know you wanted to be a part of it. So they have indicated that their performance on Saturday was their final one. And, you know, it's been 40 years and a hell of a career. And I just wanted to make sure to acknowledge them because I feel like, you know, they came back out with a single, I think in 90 or 91, Down with the King. I can't remember who was on the single with them.
Pete Rock, CL Smooth.
Pete Rock and CL Smooth, you're right. They produced the cut and they were featured on it. And that was considered a big deal. They were considered almost washed up. They probably weren't even 30 at that time period. But, you know, hip hop has just evolved to an older person's game, at least the inclusion of such. It's always going to be a young person's game. But we have a lot of rappers that are doing big things over 50, and Run DMC were the catalyst to that. They set the stage. They set, I mean, obviously, you can talk about Rapper's Delight in that single, but knowing what we know now, even though they were impactful, not like Run DMC. So I just wanted to make sure to acknowledge them, give them their props, and, you know, say thank God for Run DMC and hip-hop really quickly. And, you know, obviously, shout out to Run, who has created a legacy through his daughters. His daughter Angela just launched a vegan cake line recently. And, you know, that was also our first taste visually of sort of hip-hop royalty on TV, again, through that reality show. They were on the early phase of the reality TV boom. So I just wanted to, you know, put that out there, celebrate them, and give a little love to that. So back to my conversation with Damon Haley. Damon, before we came forward, I asked you about product marketing, because obviously you dealt with sneakers and that industry. You're now dealing with hair. You have Titan. Why am I botching this right? Titan. There we go. Titan, which is like a giant, larger than life figure, which is coming, which is a men's product. Is marketing a product the same no matter what the product is? The basics.
Yes and no. I mean, the basics are the same. You know, you still have to market the product so people kind of understand its benefits. I think the tricky part, which is still a basic, is the brand. You know, and you know, we were talking about the brand of Slay. Like, Slay's only 6 weeks old, and we're about to get a national distribution. And so I have to start thinking about it more as a brand. And so, oddly enough, the 8-year-old grandson kicked it out, because we were saying it's fun, flirty, and I'm like, give me another F. And I was talking to Diane and Ryan, the daughter Ryan, and then the 8-year-old says fly, and I'm like,
that's
all right,
that's like, it.
Dang. And so, obviously, out of the lens of how we do content and how we talk about it, it's going to be fun, flirty, and fly. And so that helps define what the product is. Now, we'll say it doesn't itch, it's lightweight, so all that concept. That's the product marketing. And then the brand is fun, flirty, fly. And so when you combine all of that into whatever we do on social, or whatever we do with these video vignettes or demonstrations and all that kind of stuff is a basic thing. And so I have been fortunate enough to be around strong brands, you know, and hearing how they talk about brand, like I said, from an HBO to the family of Pepsi stuff to the Coca-Cola, obviously Nike, Jordan, Converse, all that kind of stuff. So there is some basic stuff. We talked about the flywheel of PR, product development, sports entertainment, sports marketing, entertainment marketing, all that kind of stuff is the basic. But yeah, once you get a product, you got to figure out how to make somebody's life better. And then you got to just tell them, we make you better. We make you better. It's better. You'll jump higher, or you look better with Slay hair. You know,
and that's what branding is.
And that's that. And he's getting them to believe it, you know, and delivering on the promise, whatever the promise is. Because to date, I forget how many units we've sold, but we only had 2 people over 6 weeks, and thousands of product out there say that it itches. Okay. One woman out of Atlanta, and I think another woman in Oakland. Just 2 people.
Well, when we come forward, we will have more with Damon Haley. We're going to get into Vince Staples and a comment he has about the current state of rap culture. All of that and more. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580. Are you worried about your credit score? Well, look, you can rebuild it. There are lots of factors that go into determining your credit score, but one of the most effective ways to improve your score is to consistently pay your bills on time, over time. If you're forgetful about payments like me, try automating your bill payments. That way all your creditors get paid on time and you'll have freed yourself of trying to remember. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives can help support you in reaching them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin Ultra Strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Here with my guest, Damon Haley. We have had a fascinating conversation around entrepreneurship, branding, big name brands, high profile names, iconic. So, Damon, I just want to go back to this as an entrepreneur who is touching different areas, but bringing them all together sort of seamlessly. They're coming together very cohesively, and they don't seem, even though in some they may seem very opposite of each other, when you get into your story, they're really not. And it's sort of a natural progression. So can you talk a little bit about all of these points, how you came to the notion that I can handle all of these businesses, I can evolve as such and still be true to my core principles?
Yeah, I think it's always important to have a good conversation about who you are. You know, in the earlier segment, I said, I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago, 6 years ago. You got to say, what am I and what am I now? What brings me happiness? What do I do really well? And what can I do effortlessly that can bring me value? And for me, value is bringing me me helping people. Like I help people get better. And so that's why I have a book out there. My book helps people get better. And along the way, I get compensated for everybody who buys the book, right? I figured beauty is something that people always pursue, particularly women, always pursue it. And so I have multiple outlets where as long as I have the products that you want, that's great, and I give you great service. And then along the way, I said, let me make some products to solve problems. But my last one with Titan is really around teaching middle school age boys hygiene, grooming, and style, which is something that a lot of them don't get. We talked about the fatherless homes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to teach that and instruct that, and hopefully, knock on wood, that I'll be able to do it with LA Unified School District. and actually other school districts in Georgia and different parts of California. But I'm building product around what a young man should use: body wash, lotion, all that kind of stuff, and instruct you on, hey, get the boogers out your nose, get the wax out your ears. Tough conversations that I will get to have, and scale the conversations that, once again, a teacher don't want to have, or maybe a mother is just going to complain about the funky adolescent. They ain't gonna tell how to do it. So that's been my formula. How do I make people better? How do I build a product and a voice and a message around it, and then watch it go? And it's been successful for me. When I started doing that, even when I had my own agency, I was still a problem solver. And so I just put together things to help problems. So you got to figure out where your sweet spot is, what excites you, and then what do you do well, and then you got to do something that people are willing to pay for.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely. So really quick, I want to remind them again, the book of DH, Dreams and Hopes. That is your book.
Yep.
Which can be found on DamonHaley.com, Amazon, wherever you get your local books from. Barnes and Nobles, all of that. There's an Audible version. Glow and Flow Beauty is located right here in Inglewood on La Brea. What's the address?
933 North La Brea. We meet you with a smile. We meet you with service, and we have a wide array of products.
Amazing. Slay Hair. They can call their local beauty retail operation or go into Glow and Flow.
Or online. At slayhair.com.
3 Ys.
3 Ys, slayhair.com. And I will say it's a braid hair, but it's also used for ponytails. It's used for headpieces.
Yes,
all
it
of
is. That. You'll be seeing me with my Slay Hair ponytail very soon, in a couple of days.
That's what's up.
Yeah, no. And of course, they can get your book if they want some business consulting and advice.
Yeah, and I do actually still consult with the sports stuff. I do. I just don't advertise that. That's more friends asking me, once again, can you solve a problem? Can you lift an idea? Can you create something extraordinary? I always say, if the world has seen it, I'm not interested. I want to create something the world hasn't seen before. You know how I do.
Okay. I have to ask you next time how you track that. How do you know that the world has never seen something before and create it and blow it out?
Yeah,
that'll be for the next time when you come back.
That's what's up. Funny thing, something's happening in China that I did in 2011, and people are saying, hey, they just renamed it. And I know one of the workers is now a VP. And I just said, no, she gets to do that. She can use it. I'm done with it. So all types of stuff around the world that I'm seeing resurfacing, people not original, they just copycat. So
when you create something that is legendary, I know we throw around those words quite a bit, but seriously, if you guys knew, and I'm telling you, but I'm not going to go into detail, but if you knew, listen, you've heard the names I mentioned, right? So that just gives you a little concept. But if you knew, you'd look at some things differently. But that's kind of, they say imitation is the sincerest, is what the most sincere form of flattery.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever bought that, but.
Well, I will say, it's funny. People often say that. I get calls all the time. And to me, you never know what you're doing until you reflect back on it. So when people say, man, it's not like this. People out of Chicago, New York, all different types of places. And I'm like, the world don't need it now. When I was doing it, the world needed it. Our culture and we needed it in order to be hot.
Absolutely.
People don't need it now to be hot. I think most people cool with being warm.
That's an interesting concept. Well, I have one final question before we start to get on with the night. So do you think there's a lot of entitlement now amongst everyone? I think social media has made most people recognize that they have a voice and a reach far beyond what they ever imagined. How does that impact you as a business owner? Because I think common courtesies are gone. I think that people respect people less but demand more, and feel that they should not extend as much social grace or, just those basic things. So as a business owner, the me era that we're in, and so to speak, do you find that impacts you? Do you find that impacts your customers?
Yeah, I live in a world of Yelp reviews, Google reviews, and I take it serious because I tend to celebrate. Like I got a call. I was on a call today. Once again, it's some real estate issue. And I thank the woman at the title company for helping me because she helped me. She could have said yes or no and got me off the phone. And she helped me tremendously. I called back and said, who's Donna's boss? Because Donna's boss probably gets complaints more so than the elevated piece. I said, Donna need a raise, promotion, or bonus for what she did for me today. And I think that like when I see Google reviews, because we're looking for 5-star ratings and all that kind of stuff. And I know it's only 2 people that said slay itch because I be asking. And so I want to, and I don't mind that, 2 out of, all the units we done sold. And so that does mean something because it's the people who complain and feel shorted that go the furthest, with dragging you down. It's not the people that elevate. So when you're doing those 5-star ratings and all that kind of stuff, it just takes 2 people to get you off of that, But the people who really enjoy the service or like you, they'll just be like, thank you and keep moving. If you hurt, you gonna
react differently.
I'm gonna write a letter, that kind of stuff. Like I said, my accountant, we had a knockdown drag out, and he says, Damon, don't do this. You're emotional and in your feelings, and it's only business, because I wanted to do something to disrupt somebody because he hurt my feelings and I was in my feelings. And I told him, when's the deadline? Okay, we'll talk about it October 1 and I'll see if I'm still in my feelings. So all of that kind of stuff to be able to weaponize your voice, which that's what I call it, thumb thuggers,
Yes.
all that kind of stuff. That's very important in my business because I'm trying to make customers extremely happy with everything that I do. I always ask people, I was able to find 3 edits in my book because somebody told me about it, and one was a wrong one that got me in trouble, and it didn't make sense. That was the beautiful thing. And when somebody that mattered corrected that, he says, Damon, I still expect higher than you. You should have been reading this, but I know it was wrong. And I'll tell you when we off air,
okay,
the thing, because you would get it. So yeah, it was wrong. So it just means something. It's easier for people like to honk a horn and to say thank you for letting me in, that kind of thing on the road. So I take it serious because it matters.
So tell us once again where your social media, where we can find you.
Yeah, I'm simple. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Damon Haley, or if you want to check my website, is damonhaley.com. If you want to gift someone from some great hair and support Black-owned businesses, something that's extraordinary out there in this hair space, it's Slay, SLAYYY, hair.com. That's Slay Hair with 3 Ys. And we haven't done anything with Titan because we are trying to strike a deal with LA Unified, and hopefully that works.
Amazing.
Oh, Glow and Flow. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Glow and Flow. Glow and Flow Beauty. GLOWANDFLOW beauty.com. glowandflowbeauty.com. No fancy spellings, but that's where we at.
So make sure you lock in with Damon Haley. Thank you so much for rocking with us tonight. This week we will have Lauren LaRosa. She's coming in, former TMZ host and producer. Also, we'll have our Tubi movie reviews and, of course, more trending topics and headlines. Thank you for tapping into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580 tonight. When we come forward, you will be listening to the best of KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jill Munroe. Have an amazing night, and I will check you out tomorrow.
Professional crack slangers. Rented a car at wholesale. Drove to the ghetto and checked in a motel. Unpacked, then I grabbed a 3A. Cause where we stand, look shady. But they can't face South Central. Cause busting the cap is fundamental.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network.